Oh my goodness. Samantha, do you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for Perhaps It's You, everyone's favorite Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast.
That still exists.
It does still exist, and it's still unofficial, and it's still not a news broadcast. It's Perhaps It's You.
That's
I'm
us.
Liz,
I'm Samantha.
and we had a little unexpected hiatus.
It was a large unexpected hiatus,
I
probably.
think-
I think the last time we recorded was in May, so that's like 2 months ago.
Honestly, 2 months is not that long to take a. People do
You
that
know you're so
on
right.
a regular basis.
You're right.
I mean, I suppose we did so without announcement. And
We
then-
just like dropped off the air to the point where people were, I mean, granted, it took a while for someone to finally be like, is this podcast ending?
Because to be fair, lots of podcasts just like
Fizzle out.
Yeah, you never hear from them again. And somehow we are still chugging along, but it is not unreasonable to be like, wow, I wonder if that was the last episode, and they'll never really say goodbye, and that's just it.
No, we're back. We just, life happened. It's funny to me. It's not funny, but it's weird to me that 2020 was horrible in a lot of ways, but it didn't interrupt our podcasting that much, surprisingly. And then 2021 came around, and life was like, whoa, bam.
I don't know who put a hex on Samantha. I'm here to say I don't think she deserved it.
Thank you.
I think that. And if you think she did, maybe she learned her lesson, and you could unlift the hex now.
Yeah, that'd be great. If someone is out there hexing me, please stop.
If you wrote Samantha's name on a piece of paper and then you put that in some water and you froze it into ice and that's in your freezer right now, could you unfreeze that, please?
I'm begging you.
So that Samantha could get on with her life, because, yeah, it's just been coming for you.
Yeah, 2021 came for me hard, and we're halfway through the year now, and I'm really hoping the worst of 2021 is over. Everything's fine, like nothing catastrophic happened, but my life has been interrupted by a few different things this year so far. And I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to start podcasting again.
You've had some emergencies.
Yeah.
You've lived to tell the tale, but...
Yeah, but it's been not the summer I would have chosen. But we're, it's July, it's a new month. And we're here to talk about a shitty episode of Unsolved Mysteries. So in a lot of ways, life is returning back to normal.
Life is normal. Yeah, the thing is, okay, so I took notes on this episode before we stopped recording, thinking that we were going to record it, right? And then I completely forgot that we had not already recorded this episode. And I was just moving on to the next episode. So I was like, Samantha, this episode's great. This is a great episode for us to come back on. You're going to love it. You're so jealous of my first segment, blah, blah, blah. And then Samantha was like, I am? Because this episode sucks. And then I was like, oh, yeah, we never really did 16.
Yeah, Liz teased me saying this was a great episode to make our big return. And I was going to be so envious of her first segment. And then I started watching the first segment and I was so confused. I paused my YouTube app multiple times to double check what episode I was on. I went back in our podcasting feed to make sure I didn't like accidentally skip one. I was finally had to be like, Liz, what are you talking about? I'm so bored I might die.
Yeah, didn't you know that during our hiatus I got really into French miracles? That's a new, like, fun thing about me. Yeah, well, look, I pulled out my notebook. It took me a little while to find, and that alone made me, like, ready to quit podcasting, because I was like, this is annoying. I'm done. But when I found it, I was like, okay, here's my notes for episode 16. Samantha started. All right, so we could just go on to episode 17. And it did not occur to me that we had never actually, recorded this.
Mm-hmm.
Minor detail.
So the good news is that our next episode is going to be great.
It's going to be
lit. Bad news is that this episode's going to fucking suck.
Oh, yes. It sucks. I have a couple updates to start us off with. One is that during the hiatus, I saw my parents for the first time in a long time. And they expressed to me that they perhaps were... I got the sense that maybe they didn't like me dragging them for letting me watch Unsolved Mysteries as a small child.
We started. Is this the first time they're bringing this up? We did that. I feel like in episode 1.
They did mention it, so I just wanna say that's not a direct, like, criticism of their parenting. That was totally norm for the time. Nobody questioned that the whole family together would watch Unsolved Mysteries. You know, it was on prime time. It was not considered, like, foreboding for children. Children just watched more things that were intended for adults.
If it makes your parents feel better, when I was a child, I watched Maury. I watched the Montel Williams show, which was my favorite. I watched Dr. Phil. I watched every like History Channel alien abduction. I don't even know any like specific titles, but I watched enough that this is a vivid memory for me. I watched alien abduction documentaries on the History Channel and then was terrified that I was going to be abducted by an alien.
Oh, well, you were.
Oh,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't be able to there was nights where I couldn't sleep because I was just kind of like looking out my window expecting to see a bright light and then an alien would come take me away. So yeah, I mean if that makes your parents feel better.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure people, I'm not sure the kids today realize how good they have it, having so much access to entertainment of all types. But also, there's a lot more like child specific entertainment than there used to be.
Mhm.
Whereas children of the 80s would just watch Cheers for some reason. Like that definitely it's like what there was for me, nothing, but I still would watch it with my family. My mom wanted people to know that she would watch it with me and make sure that I didn't get scared, and she doesn't recall me ever getting scared, and I honestly don't either. And then apparently I usually thought I knew who did it, and that I was not like concerned. I would just be like, well, it was the husband, go arrest that guy. Mystery solved again. Like, I'm batting 1,000 here. This doesn't sound like an unsolved mysteries, because I'm pretty sure the husband did it yet again. So I'm safe, and you need to go arrest him.
How old were you when you were watching Unsolved Mysteries, certain that the husband was the murderer?
Probably 5. I don't know.
You're a smart kid.
I cannot tell you how many people have told us that they watched Unsolved Mysteries as a child, usually with their grandparents. That seems to be a like,
Oh, it's a theme for sure.
yeah. So it's
Also, a
really
lot of them have podcasts now, so this seems like a direct correlation.
So it's really the greatest generation, I think, that maybe we need to blame
Mhm.
for sitting around knitting and watching Unsolved Mysteries with their children. No, if the real critique of my parents' parenting should be that we didn't have cable, which is just, I mean, is that abuse? I'll leave that up to you to decide. Is a life in the 90s without MTV, would you consider that abuse? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking questions here. I have a friend, Katie, who is like, I don't know, somehow like not really that cued into pop culture. So sometimes, like a very famous person's name will come up or a show or whatever, and she'll have no idea what it is. And she's always like, I didn't have cable. I don't know. And I'm always like, yeah, Katie, I didn't either. But I still know who the Zodiac Killer is. And also, that's not a musician. Like, you should know who the Zodiac Killer is. That is actually one of my favoriteest memories. The time she did not know who the Zodiac Killer was and thought that was a rapper. And I laughed so hard that I cried.
If the Zodiac Killer wasn't a real killer, that would be a great name for a musician.
I mean, it's
or
a
a band.
He did get a catchy name. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
So it makes
It's just a
sort of sense.
It's just that there's an actual body count, which makes it like I
was
don't
like,
know.
no,
Cool.
Katie, you didn't need MTV to know this because he was an actual murderer. And this was like before your time, so it's not related to cable. Cable didn't exist yet. But just like, oh my God. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So okay, I have 2 more updates. Another update is that the other night I was procrastinating on getting up and actually going to bed. And I decided to look to see if we had any new reviews. And I came upon this website I have never heard of in my life called Listen Notes. which is like just information about podcasts. I think you can also listen to podcasts there. I don't know why you would, whatever. But according to this website, which I assume is highly reputable, we are in the top 1.5% of all podcasts.
I assume this is 100% accurate. I don't know what metrics they're using.
No idea. I couldn't find any information. I was like, where is this coming from? But I couldn't find any information about that. So I just have to accept it as fact. I see no other choice. I think it's probably has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of podcasts make one episode and then never record again. And I think all of those are being included. Okay. So I think that's why, like, yeah, maybe technically we are in the 1.5% of podcasts, but that's...
Folks, you too could make 300 episodes of a podcast over like 5 years and be in the top 1%.
Yeah. I mean, they also do something they call a listen score, which I think is out of, let me see what this number is supposed to be out of. Maybe it's supposed to be out of 100. I'm not sure. But we have a listen score of 44, which is supposed to be the equivalent of a Nielsen rating, but for podcasts.
Okay.
That doesn't sound bad.
It doesn't.
For our little podcast. I mean, I'm sorry. We're in the top 1.5%. We just need to get to top 1, don't you think?
I do.
Please. Come on.
I do. Then we can like put that on a shirt.
Yes, exactly. Like that. Oh, I should make shirts for that time we were like the top something podcast in Finland.
We were the top TV podcast in Finland, I think.
Yeah. Not the top though, like the 17th.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something like that.
But it was a notable victory, and we should probably add that to our Teespring store. That would be good.
Yeah, was Perhaps This You podcast was once the top 17th TV podcast
in Finland. Wear it with pride.
Yeah, that's really going to get us more listeners, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And then my last, it's more of an announcement, but whatever, is that this podcast is shifting to an every other week affair. I know you've been enjoying your weekly content. Of course you have. It's so good.
I mean, when we were releasing podcast episodes once a week, which seems like that was a while ago, we were pretty consistent, especially at the beginning. But it's becoming apparent that that's really not a realistic schedule for us anymore, and we could probably be more consistent if we changed to releasing fewer episodes a month, I think.
Something strange about the United States is we've never decided what the word bi-weekly means. We've never decided if it means twice a week or every other week. If we were in the UK, we would say fortnightly, but for some reason we don't have that expression. But now this podcast will be coming out fortnightly.
Yes.
Because that just seems more sustainable. Of course, we could always go back. Do I really see that happening? I don't know.
I don't. Maybe. In fact, I think at some point we're going to go down to like once a month. That might be. We're going to try out the every other week. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's going to allow us to be more consistent in our release schedule because it'll give us a week like buffer. So if we if we have one of us has a vacation coming up, we can like use that week off to record an episode, like pre-record it basically, and then release it the week we're actually gone. So we're hoping this is going to be a way to deliver you more consistent content versus like, yeah, we just disappear for 2 months and you're like, is this podcast still a thing?
I mean, how is this podcast in the top 1.5% of podcasts? And I'm not even sure if they're still recording, you say. Well, hopefully this helps. And maybe we could do some more like holiday specials and stuff like we used to. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. This is, if you have a complaint, if you're like, no, I want it to be weekly, take it up with a hex. If Samantha hadn't been hexed, we wouldn't need to resort to this.
We wouldn't be in this position if I hadn't been hexed.
But now I had to talk Samantha into it. But then once I did, I could see the like light in her eyes again. And she was like, yeah, good. Every other week. That's what I need to keep going.
Yeah, this will be good.
So, yeah. Okay, so today, though, we're talking about Season 6, Episode 16, which you can find on the old YouTubes, since I don't really recommend watching it on Amazon.
Not unless you love ads.
Which, I mean, I once had a teacher who collected ads, like, on VHS tapes.
What? Did they
Just
watch
think
them?
about that. Yeah, yeah.
That's
I guess they brought some
were
into
they
class once to show
deranged?
us. I mean, think about what I just said. They collected ads on videotapes.
That
They
question
had,
answers
like,
itself.
I don't know, a closet, a room, just of VHS tapes. They'd cataloged these various ads. Why?
Okay.
They just really respected the art form of getting us to buy shit we do not need. I don't know. I don't know. But Samantha has the first segment, which is not something she'll be jealous of at all because it is a miracle.
But not a cool, fun, hilarious miracle like that time a Jesus statue blinked.
Oh my god. Can we just get I'm just chasing the dragon of getting back to that segment. I cannot believe how much fun it was to talk about whether or not a Jesus statue blinked.
It
That
was
was a
I
good
think it
time.
was the reason that was so hilarious is mostly because of the side by side photo of the like before and after the
Oh,
blink. And it was
absolutely.
just clearly the same. It could have been the same, honestly, the same photo, just side by side, where you're watching it like, what? You're squinting at the TV, like, is his eyes closed? Because they
It's
look
like here
super
he is with
open
his
in
eyes
both of these
closed.
pictures. Oh, yeah, that was
And
a
here it is
classic.
again. Yeah, this one is very French. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any listeners in France, but I would
Yeah.
love to hear from you.
I
This
hope we
is, to
don't
me, seems
because
extremely French.
I'm going to pronounce everything wrong. I am the worst person to have this mystery because I can't pronounce anything. I can half the time I can't even pronounce English words and it's my native language. I'm going to be
I
really
know,
bad at
same.
saying these French words. So, I
Well, good
apologize in
luck. Good luck,
advance.
Samantha.
Thanks. Okay, so this is I'm not sure if they classified this as a miracle or the unexplained. I don't remember, but it's a miracle. So we
I'll
are
write down
talking
miracle.
about Our Lady of Lourdes, also known as the Miracle of Lourdes, and then a few cases in which people were miraculously healed at this uh holy site. So Our Lady of Lourdes began in February 1858. A teenage girl named Bernadette here we go. Subiri,
Sabiri?
Subiri,
Sabiri?
Subiri. Anyway, her first name was Bernadette. She went with her sister and their neighbor to collect firework, to collect firewood.
Baby, you're a firework. No. Mm.
They went to collect firewood after taking off her shoes and stockings to wade through the water near the grotto of Massabile. She heard the sound of two gusts of wind. However, the trees around her and the bushes in the area didn't move despite hearing this wind. However, a small wild rose in like a natural niche of the grotto did move with this wind.
Somehow when you say it, it's much funnier. Like, oh no, this was a miracle. A bush didn't move in the wind. Like, okay, gotcha. Got it.
Yeah, are you blown away by how miraculous
Oh,
this
yes,
is?
I am. I'm blown
Yeah.
away by that wind.
Get ready. So this is what she said. She said, I came back towards the grotto and I started taking off my stockings. I had hardly taken off my first stocking when I heard the sound like a gust of wind. Then I turned my head towards the meadow and I saw that the trees were still. Thank
That's
you
the
for the
sound
sound
effects.
effects. It really enhances the story.
Mm-hmm.
She said at this point she went on taking off her stockings, but she heard the same sound again and raised her head to look at the grotto, where she saw a lady dressed all in white. She was wearing a blue girdle and a yellow rose on each foot.
That was me. Sorry about it. Fashion faux pas were made. Yeah, I don't know why I was wearing a rose on each foot. It's kind of weird, but I was trying something out. It didn't really work.
This is Liz time traveling to go to Lourdes, France.
I don't know that we've really considered if we get access to time travel, how much of that is just going to be used for pranks.
All of it.
Oh, so annoying. Just time travelers popping into your house and being like, "Oh, hoy, hoy," and then popping away. Oh.
It does sound awful. Yeah, we should never
Ugh.
discover that technology.
No, no, we can't handle it.
So the woman held a rosary, and so this obviously frightened Bernadette. Sorry, I'm like scrolling through my notes trying to see if this anything is exciting here, and none of it is.
Yours seems so put out. She held a
Uh
rosary. She had rose feet. I don't know. It was a miracle.
so Bernadette tried to make this a sign of the cross, but she couldn't for some reason. Her hands were trembling. The lady
Wait,
smiled.
that doesn't sound like something good. You try to make the sign of the cross and you can't?
I think it's because she was so frightened, but you're right. This doesn't
That
bode
sounds like
well.
this is the devil's work. That's what I say.
Is this your theory? That this is
Yeah.
the devil coming to Lourdes? It
Yeah.
really changes things. Oh, you might want to tell the church that.
They're not going to listen to me. They can't handle the truth.
So the lady smiled and invited Bernadette to pray the rosary with her. She tried. So after they left, that's all that happened, by the way.
Yep, just another one of my classic time travel pranks.
Inviting a teenager to pray the rosary with you in a
It,
grotto.
yeah.
Which, by the way, if you were like me and weren't exactly sure what a grotto is, it's a natural or artificial cave caused by. A grotto is a natural or artificial cave used by humans in both modern times and antiquity. Uh, Naturally occurring grottos are often small caves near water that are usually flooded or they're liable to flood at high tide. Sometimes artificial grottos are used as garden features. So it's just like a cave with near water. It has some water. In this case, in Lourdes, there's like a natural spring.
So does it have to have like water in it? Is that
Yeah,
what makes it a grotto?
that's what makes it a grotto as opposed to just like a cave.
All I can think of is the grotto at the Playboy Mansion. Is that what anyone else is thinking of? They have like a cave like a fake cave you can swim in there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
call
and
it the
it says
grotto.
a grotto can either be natural or artificial. So
Okay.
that's a
All
grotto.
right. There you go.
That's legit. So Bernadette wanted to keep this a secret, but her sister fucking narked and told their mom.
What a bitch.
Their parents, according to the Unsolved Mysteries wiki, cross-examined them and then punished both Bernadette and her sister for telling this story. I don't know if they thought they were making it up or what the deal
What
was,
is to
but
punish? We saw a woman and we did the rosary. How fucking dare you? No Xbox for a week.
I think they assumed they were just like maybe lying, but I don't
Why
know.
would you lie about that? We saw a woman and did the rosary.
Look, I don't know what old-timey parents. I think they just looked for any excuse to hit their kids.
I see again the devil. You know who's causing this chaos in their household?
Could have
Sounds like
been the devil. It doesn't sound like
sounds
something
like
the Virgin Mary would do, but
no.
anyway, 3 days later, Bernadette returned to the grotto. This time she brought with her holy water to test out if the apparition was of evil origin or not. So,
Smart,
yeah.
smart.
So she had the same idea as you, Liz. She said that the second time she started to throw holy water in the Virgin Mary's direction. And at the same time, she said that if the Virgin Mary came from God, she could stay, but if not, she must go. And the Virgin Mary smiled at her, bowed, and then I guess hung around. So it was the Virgin Mary.
You want to do the rosary again or just like hang out for a bit? I don't have an appointment till 2, so I mean we could just chat or hang out in this chic grotto place.
Yeah, so the lady was thought to be the Virgin Mary, and she finally identified herself as, quote, the Immaculate Conception. The
Mm-hmm.
water is believed to have miraculous healing properties. And the Lourdes Medical Bureau, which includes Catholic, non Catholic, and atheist doctors and staff, examines reported cures to see if they are, quote, inexplicable and therefore miracles. So this is kind of wild. There's this medical bureau in this tiny town in France that, like, whenever like someone says that they were miraculously healed, they like do an investigation to see if it was a true miracle or not. And that's I don't know why that's so wild to me, but it seems completely wild.
I cannot tell you how badly I want to drink some of this water.
I mean, you could go. Lots of people make a pilgrimage to Lourdes to stand in line for I don't know how long. It seems like a long line, and then like get to.
Will they let
I
me
don't know if
drink
you
it?
can bathe in it. Apparently you can bathe in it, but I don't know if they couldn't possibly let everyone bathe in it. That would seem like it would take forever. So maybe some people do, and some people get to just like dip their toe in it and move on.
Okay, if you are in France, can you get me some of this water, please?
Are they gonna smuggle it out in a little vial?
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
you can take the water.
I want a little like, yeah, I want a little vial of it. I want a little plastic bottle. It can be quite small. Smuggle it out, ship it to me. I want to drink it and see if I'm cured.
Okay. I mean, I'm up for this. I'm up for this experiment for sure. But you realize
You know those
anyone
like
could send you any water, and they could say it's from Lourdes, and it might not be. How are you going to prove it's from Lourdes?
it has to be postmarked from France for one,
Okay, I
and
mean that's a good
I,
start.
I'll just trust any of our French listeners to do the right thing. Okay.
Okay,
I'm thinking of those little plastic fishes that like soy sauce will come in with your takeout sushi order.
and you just scored it in your
Empty one
mouth.
of those out. Empty one of those out. Put that in the spring water. Yeah, suck it up into the fish and then send that to me.
Do you think so? What they show in the Unsolved Mysteries is people making this pilgrimage. It's like seems like a parade. Honestly, I mean they could use more candy throwing, but otherwise it seems fine.
Where's
Uh,
the giant Uncle Sam hats? What kind of parade is this?
Yeah, some glow sticks. I don't know. They if they asked me, I would give them some ideas to zhuzh it up. But anyway, so you make this
Hmm.
parade, and then it seems like you take Holy Communion, and I'm sure there's a process, and there's probably like a priest has to like sprinkle the water on you. Do you think you can just literally drink it across the globe and it would still work, or do you think the process is important?
I want to know. I have this written out. Do non-believers get healed? I don't know how much of it is the water and how much is it like, can I be a heathen? Can I be can my heathen ass get healed from just drinking this water? Or do I need, I can't take communion. I wasn't baptized in the Catholic Church.
Right.
So, and I accidentally did take communion one time and then a priest got really mad at me. So I'm not going to do that again.
You don't do that. You should just tell them you can buy the wafers on Amazon.
Well, I'm sure they're not. Okay, at what point are they actually Jesus? Like, if I just buy the wafers on Amazon, I'm assuming they're just wafers. But at some point, they're like Jesus's flesh.
Look, I'm not Catholic. I was not even raised
Hmm.
Catholic, so I could
Me
not tell
neither.
you. But I'm sure there's a process. There's, a cooking that goes on.
I don't think they cook that. Cooking.
They put it in the Jesus Easy Bake Oven and it comes out.
And it's
I
like,
don't
oh,
know.
now it's of his flesh.
Sure.
So yeah, I can't take the communion. I think that's sacrilegious. And I think I would have to like convert to Catholicism, and let's be honest, they're not going to want me. So I just want to try a little of the water.
Okay, sure. I mean, I'm up for the experiment. I think this is the type of science that we should be doing because we're still in a pandemic, and if that water can cure people, they should
Oh
be
yeah,
shipping it all over the freaking world, shouldn't they?
yeah. Don't keep it to yourself, France.
Yeah, I mean, if Lourdes has this miraculous water that can heal you just by like dipping yourself in it, why aren't we like? Why do we need a vaccine for COVID? Why don't we just send everybody a little squirty fish full of this water?
Yeah, set up a new like Evian bottling plant right over the spring. Get that
Yeah.
out. Get that out there.
The
To
fact that
the
they haven't done that tells me that either the process is important or you have to be a believer. They don't go into that in the episode, but there must be some because yeah, otherwise you should be bottling that shit up.
We all need it. Give it
Yeah,
to me. Give me the water. Give
yeah.
it to me.
All right. So anyway, up until July 6th, so Bernadette first saw the Lady of Lourdes on February 11th, 1858, and up until July, she had 18. She saw 18 apparitions of the lady. In 1933, the Vatican declared that Bernadette was a saint,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
which Did Bernadette do anything else?
I mean, she saw the Virgin Mary. I think that's enough.
That's enough to make you a saint?
Yeah. Why did you see the Virgin Mary?
No, but I also
See?
haven't done shit.
Well, you didn't see the
But
Virgin
it seems
Mary.
like you should have to do like some good works. Maybe she did. I have no idea. I shouldn't.
I'm gonna look it up. Go, keep going.
Yeah, I want to know what else Bernadette did than just show up, dip her toes in some water, and see the Virgin Mary. But
you're so disrespectful to
shouldn't you have to do something really good to be a saint?
No,
not just exist and see the Virgin Mary.
Sometimes you're a saint just because your body didn't decompose.
Well, that doesn't.
There's all sorts of reasons people are saints.
Well, this is why I'll never be a saint. So in the years since she I should say this. Okay, for some reason I didn't put this in my notes. This like there was a stream that like miraculously appeared. It like apparently wasn't there, and like Bernadette saw the Virgin Mary, and then this stream appeared. So in the years since this stream appeared, millions of people have come to Lourdes to pray, reflect, and be healed by this magical water.
Okay, wait a second. So I'm reading up on Saint Bernadette, who apparently did become a nun. I don't know if that counts as good deeds for you. But
well, it's better than nothing.
She had chronic health problems. She died at 35.
What?
How is this water healing?
So it'll heal everybody else except Bernadette?
Yeah.
Our Lady of Lourdes is a bitch.
Yeah.
She won't even heal Bernadette? Bernadette's coming 18 times and devotes her life to Christ and then dies at 35?
Yep.
All right, this whole thing is suspect. Not that it wasn't before, but it definitely is now.
Millions of people have come to the spring Bernadette uncovered for healing of body and spirit, but she found no relief from ill health there.
Oh my god. Okay. Anyway.
That seems cruel.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Again, this might be the work of the devil. I'm not ruling it out.
You know what? It's seeming more and more likely as we go on here. Unsolved Mysteries didn't mention that little part. All right, so the Lady of Lourdes also told Bernadette to ask clergy to build a chapel on the site. Lourdes now has an immense shrine complex that includes a basilica built right over the grotto where the lady appeared. And the Catholic Church has documented 69 miracles at Lourdes as of 2017. And I realize 69 sounds like a lot. However, like thousands of people make a pilgrimage to Lourdes every year. So, but only 69 people have been miraculously cured. I realize if you have some sort of like chronic health issue where there's no cure in sight, the doctors have done nothing for you. Maybe those odds seem good. But if I'm thinking of like, is this truly like a miraculous healing water? Only 69 people have been miraculously healed.
Also, it's 69 people, and you're telling me it's not the devil? All right. Okay. Sure.
It's a good point. Evidence is mounting.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't think God would have picked the funniest number. That doesn't seem like something God would do. So either there's going to be 70 people as of like tomorrow, or this is the devil.
Well, we'll find out when you get that little vial of water.
I can't wait.
If you become the 70th, then we know it's God and you have to convert to Christianity. If not, then the devil is real.
I make this pledge. If someone sends me a vial of this spring water from Lourdes and I drink it and I am cured of my chronic health problems, I promise to devote myself to Christianity.
You heard it, folks.
With God as my witness. If that happens, absolutely. My life belongs to Christ.
Considering we're constantly talking about the literal Christian devil, I mean, we haven't devoted our lives to Christ, but that is funny to me because that implies that you believe in like everything that's in the Bible.
I can't imagine a single other scenario where I would devote my life to Christ, but if that happens, I really will.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Get that water. Sneak into Lourdes. I don't know if they're still doing pilgrimages during COVID. Maybe it's real light. There's not a lot of people around. So this might be your chance actually to sneak in, get a little
Well,
vial of water.
they're not worried about COVID because they have healing water right there. So
I don't know, only 69 people have been healed, so I think people in these pilgrimages are getting COVID. Just but bring a little pipette and just suck up a little water. They
yeah,
won't miss it.
no, it's a spring, right? There's got to be more.
Yeah. All right. So probably seems like we should be basically done with this segment, but
Oh my
we've
god,
just gotten started.
it's so long. Why?
So
Again, the devil. God would not allow this segment to be this long.
So, Unsolved Mysteries profiles two women who were ill until they went to the healing waters of Lourdes. The first is Jeanne Fratel, and Jeanne seems like a nice woman. She's a nice lady, but she
seems
calls this an amazing adventure. And I'm not sure if that's just an issue with the translation or if she really thinks that this was an adventure. But Jeanne, you need to go on a trip or something. You need a vacation to somewhere nice. I'm not sure what you went through what is what I would call an adventure, but
this woman seems like, in my naive American boorish opinion, this woman seems to be the Frenchest woman who's ever lived. And part of that is that she probably does not vacation anywhere outside of France.
Yeah.
This is really as far as she's ever gonna go.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. So Jeanne Fratel, then at the time 23, contracted a serious and mysterious illness. I believe she was a nurse, and then she came down with this debilitating, horrible illness that she nearly died from. Part of what happened was that her abdomen grew rock hard and was painful to the touch.
This sounds horrible.
Blood came out of her nose, mouth, and intestines. And over an 11-year period, she underwent 13 different operations, but nothing helped.
Ugh.
Eventually, she was diagnosed with tubercular peritonitis, which I think is TB of the GI tract.
Oh,
I
God.
googled it. It sounds horrible. Absolutely horrible. On 4 occasions, her priest administered last rites. So, like, multiple times they thought she was on her way out.
Like, well, goodbye, Jean. It's been real.
Yeah.
And she's like, you again? Did we just do my last rites? And they're like, yeah, but you got to keep them up. You got to, well, you got to renew those last rites. The old ones don't work anymore.
You must have to. Yeah.
No, because you have to be absolved of all sin right before you die. So if she had it like 2 weeks ago, she's probably sinned again. She probably, coveted her neighbor's croissants that looked really good. So now, she has to have the last rites all over again to make up for
it's a sin I commit every day, coveting croissants.
That she, committed the sin of sloth by sleeping till 10 on a Sunday. And she's like, oh no, my sins. Please absolve me.
Oh no, my sins.
I assume that's how old people are, right? Oh no, my sins.
She wasn't old though. She was.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I don't know, 30 at this point. Anyway,
we hear from her as an old lady, and for some reason, I'm picturing her that way, like throughout her entire life story.
No, this started when she was 23. Which
okay.
I can't even imagine. So anyway, several of Jeanne's friends convinced her to go to Lourdes. By the time she arrived there on October 1948, she had been virtually comatose for 3 months.
This is so bad.
Her bandages had to be changed 20 times a day.
How is it even possible?
I don't know, but her condition seems grave. Due to this condition, she was taken immediately to the Rosary Basilica where Mass was being held. Because they were basically like, this woman is not going to make it. We need to get a communion wafer in her mouth now.
There's one thing that can save this woman's soul, and it's Jesus Christ's flesh. Open up her mouth with a spoon, which is what they did in the reenactment anyway.
Father Roques was one of the priests who was there, and he tried to give her communion, but she wasn't able. She was comatose, I think, or she was barely conscious. And so with the help of a friend, they pried her mouth open, with a spoon, and put a little chunk of communion wafer in between her lips.
I assume someone was there for the service eating a creme brulee, and Then they come in with this woman that desperately needs a communion wafer and literally needs her mouth pried open, and they were like, s'il vous plaît, your spoon, and then they just like wedge it in there, get her mouth open, shove that wafer in. Can you
Which
imagine being on death's door, like basically dead, and someone's trying to shove something in your mouth?
it honestly sounds grotesque. However, according to everyone who was there, seconds later, she awoke from her near comatose state.
Yeah, to scold everyone. That would be me. What are you doing? I'm dying. This is weird.
Leave me the fuck alone. Yeah, well, it worked. So, joke's on you, Liz.
I guess so. Then she was like, "Hand me that creme brulee. That looks real good." And
Jean
that's how they knew she was better.
Jean was moved to the grotto where Bernadette had her vision. That night, she felt someone lift her to a sitting position. She turned around she says to thank them for helping her sit up, but no one was there. The presence then took her hands and placed them on her stomach. And at this
Uh-huh.
point, she felt immediately cured.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Soon, she was able to stand for the first time in years. She felt hungry and was able to eat without problems. I assume that was when she had her creme
Yeah, that's
brulee.
when she had the creme brulee. And then she went and she got a baguette and she put butter in it and just a chocolate bar and ate that. And she was like, "Oh, it's so good to be French and not dying."
I assume that's exactly how it went. She was then taken to be bathed in the water a few hours later. The next day, a group of doctors came to examine her, and at this point, virtually every symptom of her illness had completely disappeared.
It is very odd.
She was released on November 1948 and returned to her home. In 1950, she took vows to become a Benedictine nun, and to this day, she shows no sign of illness, and her recovery was deemed a miracle by the church. And now she goes to Lourdes often to help with those who are there visiting. As you can imagine, a lot of them are very ill people, and so they need a lot of help. And she volunteers her time, kind of giving back. And in this case, she was so we talked about the Lourdes Medical Bureau. I'm not sure if her case was investigated by them. They don't go into a lot of details, but they do say that she traveled home to like her regular doctor, who was according to Unsolved Mysteries, an atheist. He examined her and could not find any like reason why she would like all of her symptoms, her illness would just completely vanish. And that he was amazed by it. So in this case there was like at least some follow-up by like a medical professional to like confirm the story.
The
um
impression that I got was that this one was confirmed by that group and that the next one was not. But
yes,
that might not be accurate.
no, that was the impression I got too. It was a little unclear, like the way that the
Right.
timeline is presented in some mysteries is a little confusing. But yeah, I think this one was verified.
I found okay, so there's a part where she's like talking about what a miracle this was, and she says that, they say that if you ask, like God will grant you. But I didn't even ask. I received without asking. That she had like not prayed for her own health, I guess. But I was
Mhm.
just like, okay, like you not only are you saying that this miracle happened, but also that you're like, and I would never even bring myself to ask God to help me. And yet he did. I was like, all right,
What
that's
about all
enough.
the people who are probably just constantly praying and find no relief? It's a little callous. I realize, like,
Well,
good for you, Jean, but that's a little bit of a callous thing to say because
it's
I
the
think lots of
most,
people pray day and night for like relief from horrible medical issues and they get nothing.
and she couldn't even be bothered. Yeah, it was sort of a definition of holier than thou. Where I was like, all
A little
right,
bit,
Jean, carry on,
a little
carry
bit.
on.
All right, we got one more.
Okay.
This is the story of Lorraine Echeverria. She was 14 when she was struck with a mysterious illness. This was November 1975, and she was living in New Jersey. Doctors did tests on her, but were never able to figure out what was going on. I'm not even really sure what her symptoms were. In the reenactment, we see her having to be like held up by two people in order to walk. Whatever she had going on was debilitating. Her family decided to take her to Lourdes in March 1976. Her mom
Which
is
is bizarre to me. I maybe this is like maybe I could be more open-minded or something. But the idea that your child is like very, very sick and then you're like, I know what we need, international travel.
Well, so her mom is interviewed for Unsolved Mysteries, and her mom does say that when they got there, like Lorraine was in such a state that her mom was like, "I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I took this child to across the ocean on this trip where she's probably going to die. Like, what have I done?"
Yes!
So I don't think you're
Yes!
alone in that evaluation of the situation.
This is bizarre to me.
I assume they were just that desperate and they were believers, so they thought that, this is our last hope. We're going to take her to this holy place and hope that this healing water does something. It doesn't sound like a good position to be in, honestly. I mean, your child is dying and this is the only thing you can think to do. Sounds
I'm
terrible.
I'm picturing myself in the line at Lord's. I mean, not speaking French, and then they're like, "Mademoiselle, do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?" And me just being like, "No, no, I
They
don't.
just send you back.
Can I have some of the water though?" Yeah, they probably would be like, "Get the hell out of here." However, you say that nicely,
Yeah,
but
so
but not that nicely because you're French. You know.
probably not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so she arrived and her kidneys began to fail and she began to have difficulty moving. While there, she had a strange dream in which she saw herself separated from her body and she realized that she was there with a woman. The woman told her to go back to her body, but she did not want to because she thought that she was dying. And Lorraine is
She was also
interviewed.
like, that body sucks. I'm not going back to that body. You gave me a sick, diseased body that barely works. Give me a
Yeah.
better one."
Well, and Lorraine is interviewed for Unsolved Mysteries, and she says that death sounded like relief to her at the time.
Ugh,
And so she has
ugh.
this dream, and she's like, "No, I don't want to go back to my body. Like, I would rather find relief, even if it means I'm going to die," which is just a horrible thing for a 14-year-old to have to go through. Or anyone, but I mean, I can't imagine being 14. Uh,
Yeah.
so the woman told her that she had to go back to her body because she, quote, had to tell people that he, who is presumed to be Jesus, still exists. At this point, Lorraine wakes up, and then later she was bathed in the water as her mother stood by praying. Her mother felt a release from her body soon thereafter, and that night her grandmother slept in the room with Lorraine. Sometime during the night, Lorraine felt hungry. Or wait, was this her grandmother? Decided to get up and get something to eat. Oh no, this was Lorraine. So she felt hungry. She wanted to get up and get something to eat. And after getting up, she realized that her pain was finally gone. Somehow, she had almost instantly recovered. And she is free from illness to this day. However, in this case, a medical examination was not done after her visit, and so the Catholic Church can't recognize what happened to her as a miracle. But Lorraine is certain that she received a miracle at Lourdes.
I find it strange that she's just like, was like, and then I never went to a doctor ever again. Like, huh, all right.
Okay.
I mean, I'm glad you're better, but hmm.
Yeah, I would think after all of that, you'd go to a doctor and be like, "So I'm fine now." But I mean, I guess
I
she
just
doesn't
wanted to
have to
check.
because she's good.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess.
are my kidneys still failing? You want to just do some
Let's
blood
just
work?
check.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel better, but could you just like make sure I'm no longer dying?
yeah. I mean, it's what I would do, but Lorraine seemed fine. We don't have. I pulled up the Unsolved Mysteries wiki to see if there were any updates on either of these cases. Like, I'd like to see, like, did Lorraine live to be 100? Is she still alive today? But I have no idea. We'll assume yes, because she was miraculously healed.
Maybe she is gonna live to be like 500 or whatever, like Moses.
Maybe. I guess I could
You know how
Google her.
everybody in the Old Testament of the Bible got to be really old.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, she is dead, I think. At least I found an obituary for someone named Lorraine Echeverria.
Oh, sorry, Lorraine.
74
Not
when she
bad.
died. I don't know if this is the same person. Oh, she was from New Jersey. So this might be the same one. They don't mention a trip to Lourdes.
What? They don't mention being featured on Unsolved Mysteries. What kind of bit is
Oh
that?
no, this is her. Okay, this has to be her because it says in lieu of flowers, contributions may be made in Lorraine's memory to the Lourdes pilgrimage,
Oh.
Lorraine's group.
Oh.
So, yeah, she died at the age of 74 in 2015.
Hmm.
So, there you go.
Thanks, Lords.
She didn't live to be 500, but she lived to be 74, which is respectable.
I mean, they thought she was only going to live to be 14, so that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
She's survived by her husband and 3 children.
Hmm.
She went on to have 3 children. So, all right.
Well, get me that water. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only way to test this is to send Liz a small vial of this water from Lourdes. So if you can help us with that, please do.
Get in touch. Get in touch. Okay, so our next one is an unexplained death. And it starts out with Robert Stack saying the following: It begins with an innocent evening out. Suddenly, you become aware that someone is watching you. Then he is following you and your car. Every move you make, he makes. You are being stalked. Only later do you learn that it was your license plate that apparently triggered the stalker and led to a deadly encounter.
This is spooky right up until the license plate thing, and then it's immediately silly. But it does bring to mind 5-year-old Liz sitting in the living room watching Robert Stack in a trench coat in like the fog in front of like a car saying like someone is watching you in the
You
night.
are being stalked, and I'm just going, I'm pretty sure the husband did it, so not worried. This is actually a very scary story. This is just one of those rare, totally random acts of violence that makes everybody super paranoid. So this story took place April 29th, 1991, when a few friends got together for drinks in the suburbs of San Jose. One of those people was Dick Hansen, and he was there with his friend that Unsolved Mysteries calls Gene, which honestly is kind of confusing because we just had a Gene. But anyway, so Gene tells us that Dick was in a great mood that night. He had just finalized a tough divorce, and she says that he had a new lease on life. So he was in high spirits. At 1 a.m., Dick and Gene left together. Dick was driving Gene's car, and at 1:30 a.m., they got to the restaurant in San Jose where Dick had left his truck. They had like driven to the second location together. So he like brings her back to she brings him back to his truck, and they're sitting in Gene's car for a while. And at least in the reenactment, they're basically like talking about whether they should go somewhere and do it. I don't know if that's actually what was happening, but they were just like sitting in the car chatting. And but to be fair, it was 1:30 in the morning, so maybe that is accurate. So they were talking about when they would see each other again when a car pulled up behind them. They were the only vehicles on the street, and Gene assumed that this driver was dropping something into a nearby mailbox. However, he just sat there and watched them.
Very creepy.
And they were kind of unnerved, but also like, what are you gonna do? So Dick got into his truck, and the plan was that Gene was gonna follow him home. But what happens is immediately the other driver, this creeper in the other car, begins to follow them. He followed them through like they do a reenactment of them on the highway, like changing lanes and like trying to lose this guy, and he follows specifically Jean's car very closely. And like no matter what she does, he is right behind them for 10 miles. At one point, Jean changed lanes and slammed on her brakes to try to like trick him, but the creeper driver did that as well. So Jean yelled to Dick that they should go to a police station, but unfortunately Dick couldn't hear her, and he said, "Take the next exit." So she quickly followed him to the exit, and unfortunately so did this other driver. So they finally stop, and the car pulled up right behind them. So now we also get a reenactment of Dick going to talk to this other driver. And according to Gene, he says something like, "What do you want?" Or it might have been like, "What are you doing?" Or something like that. She couldn't quite hear. And the driver points to the back of Gene's car. And at this point, Dick yelled, what we were told is, "Get the blankety blank out of here." Because, no swearing. So now that things have escalated, Jean jumps back into her car only to hear the pop pop noise of a gun. At this, then she realizes that Dick has been shot. Jean gets out of her car, and her and the driver just like lock eyes and stare at each other for about 10 seconds.
Yeah, this is weird.
So terrifying. And then he just peels off. So Jean runs over to Dick. His eyes were half closed and he wasn't breathing. Jean tries to revive him, but unfortunately, by the time paramedics arrived, it was too late. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. He left behind 2 daughters aged 11 and 13. So this is so random and so terrifying. The only theory that they have about this is that this total rando just objected to Jean's 49ers themed license plate,
This is so strange.
and that this was like some sort of fan hostility. And the other part of the reason behind that, well, okay, so he gestures. Dick is like what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you following us? And this guy gestures to Jean's license plate, which was, I don't know if it had like one of those things that goes around it that was like 49ers. I think actually she had like a customized license plate that was like love 49ers or something like that. But also Dick played college football, so he like looked like a football player. So they were wondering if like this guy thought he played for the 49ers and he was a disgruntled sports fan. The thing is, there's no update on this.
Yeah, this is odd. I think the license plate said 49ers hugs.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yes.
Which I and okay, look, I don't watch football. I'm not a sports person at all, but it took me a minute to realize what they were talking about. Like if I saw someone with the license plate 49ers hugs, I don't know that I would immediately put that together with the football team.
Well, you're also not such a deranged fan that you might go around shooting people.
This is a good point.
I mean, obviously he's gonna get it.
But this is such a stretch though. Like he could have
It could have really been anything. I don't know how seriously to take that claim that has something to do with the license plate. He literally might have just been gesturing towards the car.
Towards
like,
her, maybe.
Or like, you guys cut me off. Like, this could just be a road rage thing that they're like totally unaware of. Maybe on the way to Dick's truck, they cut him off, right?
Yeah.
And now this guy's just furious and follows them all this way and ends up shooting him. Like, there are other road rage incidences like that. I don't know how seriously to take him pointing in that direction to mean it has something to do with the license plate. And just the fact that this guy like once played college football, like if this guy is so into sports that he's going to shoot people over it, wouldn't he know that he wasn't one of the guys?
You would think. Yeah, you would.
Okay, so I find this whole idea like very creepy, very scary. And I asked on Twitter, like, given this vague plot synopsis of you just getting, trailed in your car by a random stranger that like escalates, if that had been made into a horror movie after this Unsolved Mysteries segment aired, is what I was looking for. Because if you remember, we did that segment a while ago that ended up being the beginning of Jeepers Creepers, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a shot by shot. It was this woman driving down like a country road and she sees this incredibly creepy, like I think like a bloody cloth. She sees this like very creepy scene happen out the window and then has to turn around like, wait, what, did I really see that? And that's the opening of Jeepers Creepers, is basically this like shot for shot thing from Unsolved Mysteries. So I was wondering if something similar had happened here, because I thought this is a very scary idea.
Yeah.
That you would end up getting followed at night by someone so unhinged that they would shoot you over, either the 49ers or like a traffic violation or something. So people on Twitter gave me some suggestions, but they were basically just like horror movies that involved cars. Most of them didn't seem like that on target. Okay, so one person suggested the horror movie Urban Legend or Urban Legends. I can't remember. It came out in maybe 98, 99.
Oh, okay.
It's got Jared Leto in it and Alicia Witt. But so that movie was streaming. I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch this. Has nothing to do with this at all. There's like the thing where someone's in the back of your car.
Oh, that's not this.
There's never
in,
a part
like,
where
every horror movie, isn't it?
No. Yes. And they had a thing about that urban actually, I think we've talked about this, that urban legend where if you, like, flick your brights, like, some gang member is gonna
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it's like gang initiation. That was in there. But nothing about just, like, a guy following you in his car until he kills you. That wasn't in there at all.
Well,
So then
if
I just
you're a
was like,
movie producer, we got an idea for you right here.
if you have a better suggestion of a movie that you think could have been inspired by this case, I would like to hear it because, frankly, that one was pretty bad. I'm not impressed with that suggestion. I was like, oh, this movie is terrible, and I just watched it for no reason. So that's the extent of the research I did on this segment, which frankly was more than I should have done.
Well, yeah, I mean, you watched a whole movie, so I'm impressed.
Yeah.
It's a bummer
You
that
should
one
be.
wasn't solved, but there's also literally nothing. They have a sketch that's
Yeah.
I mean, it was dark out and she only saw him in her rear view mirror, so who knows how accurate that
Okay.
sketch is.
I'm looking at the sketch right now. For some reason, like, they put a lot of work into the eyes and glasses, and then the lower face of the mouth is like not the lower face and mouth is like not filled in. It basically looks like a light-skinned Steve Urkel. I
No wonder they didn't solve this one.
Yeah, I don't think there's no way she got a good look at him. Apparently, his car looked like a 1970 Pontiac GTO Le Mans. It's a
Okay.
two-door coupe with a light gray or blue paint. I mean, that's like nothing to go on at all.
Yeah, and it was dark. Yeah, I mean, it sucks, but I'm not that surprised they didn't solve it because who knows why this guy shot them.
Yeah, and that's part of what's scary about these totally random cases, even though I just want to like emphasize that stuff like this does not happen very often. Um, but yeah, it's like, how would you ever find this person? It's random.
Yeah.
Like, it's just some guy out there somewhere. Like, how are you
Well,
gonna track him down? He
right.
has no see, if someone has no real motive, it's like, well, unless he comes in and confesses, good
Yeah.
luck finding him.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, we have one more, and it's a lost love.
Just for you, my dear.
Just for me.
Oh,
I always get the lost loves. I love them. All
this is
right.
another tornado related lost love, not our first.
Yeah, strangely, not the first tornado lost love. So we are looking for Vernice Bradford. 68-year-old Ruby Bradford McDaniel has 5 children, 15 grandchildren, and 21 great grandchildren.
I'm tired just hearing those numbers.
However, despite being the matriarch of such a big family, she still misses the one person whom she hasn't seen in over 75 years, her young sister, Vernice.
I mean, this is sweet, but she also like never interacted with this person at all. Just
No.
so I understand that she wants to find her. I don't know that she can really say she misses her. Is that
That's true.
rude? Is
That's
that
true.
rude?
Unsolved Mysteries really made it seem like, despite this being the matriarch of this huge family, it will never be complete until she finds her sister, which is, like you said, sweet, but her sister has lived a whole 75-year life.
Yeah, you have never spoken to this person.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different than some last loves we've seen, but I mean, it's
Oh
still
well.
sweet. It's still sweet. All right. In 1915, in Murfreesboro, Arkansas, Mac and Ruth Bradford owned a small farm on the edge of town where they lived with their 2 children. Their children were Ruby and Buster, which seems like names for dogs, but
Yeah. See, look, not everybody should have children, and I think that proves it right there. They're not responsible enough to name children. Those are dog names. Those are not children names. Buster, literally Buster.
Ruby is passable as a human name. Buster, not quite.
Buster.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
All
not sure
right.
if it was a nickname or if his literal the name on his birth certificate was Buster. It's the only name we're giving, so I can only assume it was his given name.
All I
But
can think about is in No Scrubs when they're like also known as a Busta. I assume people said that to him all the time.
I assume so.
Yeah.
So Ruth was 6 months pregnant with Vernice at the time. And then one afternoon, Mac heard I can't not think of your husband. This guy's
Yep.
name was Mac.
Yep. It was him. It was
It was
him
him.
traveling through time, having families getting destroyed by tornadoes.
And
Yep.
then going on to father 12 more children. Does that
Oh
seem like
my god, no.
does that seem like your husband?
Not so much. I hope not. Ooh.
He has time. He has a whole second large time travel family. Is what you don't know.
You know what? I don't know that. You're right.
So Mac heard thunder and looked out the window to see a tornado barreling towards the farmhouse. Like fucking the Wizard of Oz.
Like, it seems like it was literally coming just right for them,
Yeah.
which rude.
Which
Tornado.
I guess we live in a time where tornado warnings will pop up on our phones. So it's hard to imagine a time when you would look out your farmhouse to just see a tornado barreling towards you.
I just go, "Oh fuck."
But
Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
seems like something out of a Wizard of Oz movie, but this is real life and it happened to these people. So the Bradfords ran to a nearby field where Mac laid his family down and then climbed on top of them and held onto a guard post.
I would not think that would work.
Well, it kind of didn't. So Ruby believes that they would all have been killed if they had stayed in the farmhouse. That tornado did kill 10 people and injured 45 more and did $4 million in damage. The guard post was practically the only thing still standing in like the whole town. Although the farmhouse was rebuilt, the Bradfords would suffer additional tragedy. During the tornado, Ruth was severely injured when she was struck by a wooden beam. And a few months later, while trying to recuperate, she came down with yellow fever and went into premature labor.
Ugh. The past sounds terrible.
Yeah, it really does. She unfortunately passed away just hours after giving birth to Vernacy. The next day,
she had to interrupt churning butter to die. How many of those like weeks of having yellow fever do you think she like worked from sun up to sundown?
Oh my god. Probably a lot of them.
Oh.
Horrible.
Horrible.
So Ruby was 7 and she was shocked and confused as people came and took Vernacy away. Later, Mac explained to her and Buster how they had
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's really hard to say the name Buster without laughing.
Also known as a buster. Yeah. Yeah.
So he explained to his children how they lost Ruth and that Vernacy was taken to be cared for by another family. She was adopted by Mr. and Mrs. Logston, who also lived in Murfreesboro.
Logston is a fake name. We can all agree on that, right?
It kind of feels like it. Buster Logston. Imagine that. Imagine that name. So Mr. Logston was an attorney and his wife was a nurse. That's all we know about them. 3 years later, Mac took Ruby and Buster on a surprise visit to the Logston home. Vernacy was at the window and they waved at each other. Sadly, this was the last time they ever saw her.
Did they do that before in the 3 years, or they literally drove by her window one time for some reason?
It seems like they did it once. As far as that's the way Unsolved Mysteries made it sound, even though they were in the same town. I don't know.
He was like, we can't spare the oats to have the horse drag us by that window. It's just 3 blocks away. Can't do it.
Okay, a few weeks later, Mac received a photograph of Vernacy in the mail. When she was 6, the Logstons moved away, and they never heard from the family ever again. Eventually, Mac remarried, and like I said, had 12 more children.
He really liked having children.
Yeah, he passed away in 1984 at the age of 92. Ruby is still hoping to find Vernacy and reunite with her and all of their siblings. This case is solved. Viewers' tips led Ruby to find Vernacy, whose name was changed to Mary Pernacy Logston. I guess they didn't want to call her Vernacy Pernacy.
Oh, well, that's fair. I was like, did they change it to Pernacy because it rhymes? But
that's her middle name, and I'm not sure if I wonder if they
her name at one point Vernacy Pernacy?
That might be why they changed it to Mary. I can only speculate,
They were
but
like, this baby was named by a woman dying of yellow fever. It doesn't make sense.
Vernacy Pernacy. Yeah. Oh, she passed away in a tragic accident in the 1940s.
Oh.
This is the Unsolved Mysteries curse. However, she did have several children who have been reunited with Ruby. Ruby passed away in 2006 at the age of 99.
Wow.
So Ruby didn't befall the Unsolved Mysteries curse didn't befall Ruby, but it did Bernacy Pernacy.
Oh, Bernacy Pernacy.
We should not laugh at real people's names, but that is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I guess we shouldn't, but sorry.
It wasn't really her. Her name was Mary most of her life, so I'm not sure if she would say that Vernacy was her name. So am I making up an excuse to laugh at the name Vernacy Pernacy? Yes, I am. But
she definitely wouldn't say her name was Vernacy Pernacy.
I'm sure she would. That family, that Mr. and Mrs. Logsdon looked at that name and were like, "This girl is going to be bullied within." Yeah, we can't send this girl to school with the name Vernacy Pernacy.
This is why you can't let women with deadly fevers name babies, because they don't make any sense. And then those babies are stuck with them. Yeah, I mean, we don't get a reunion, so kind of what's the point of any of this?
Yeah, I don't know, and I'm also not sure. So Unsolved Mysteries Wiki says it's solved, and the viewers' tips led Ruby to find Vernacy. However, I can't tell if she actually met her, or if she just learned of her passing and met her children. I'm not sure. Whoever wrote the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki wasn't as thorough on this one as they were in some of the others, but that's okay. We still appreciate you, whoever's out there writing Unsolved Mysteries Wikis and making our lives easier.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's the end of that episode.
Thank goodness, because I feel like we spent way more time on that than that episode deserved. But
absolutely,
I guess I kept going on tangents about miracle water, so that'll happen. Let's rate this. Even though my last note for this is literally in all caps, this episode sucks.
It did. But we can rate it. It's what we do. Our first category is mysteriousness.
Okay, actually, I'm gonna say kind of mysterious, mostly based on my mystery, but
that one was mysterious.
I also don't know what cured those people that seemed incredibly ill, right? So I would say, actually, despite being boring and not very good, it is mysterious.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is that I'm not sure about this miracle water. However, both of these people were about to die. Like, I think Jean, one of them, like, their doctor had a casket go with them on their trip to Lourdes. That's how sick they were.
They were like, you can go to Lourdes, just be sure to bring your own coffin, bitch.
Jean was sick for 11 years and then was not, and went on to live to be like, what, 75 or whatever. So that's mysterious. Like, whether you think the miracle water is real or not, that's mysterious to me.
Imagine loading your own coffin onto a train.
Oh my god. Well, she didn't have to. She was comatose, but a coffin went with her.
So glamorous. And also, yeah, this car shooting thing, very mysterious, very scary. So I'm going to give a thumbs up for mysteriousness. What's our next category?
Reenactments.
I actually think the car reenactments of the car chase were very good.
They were creepy.
Yeah, I think they were done well. I don't know about the miracle reenactments.
Yeah. I don't think those were all that great.
No, but I'm still going to give it a thumbs up because I think the car chase ones are good.
They were good. I think the tornado ones were decent. They used actual footage of tornadoes, so that kind of enhanced it. So
they didn't like make a CGI tornado. That clearly would be pretty bad.
I think that would have been very bad. So that was a good call. Yeah, thumbs up. Fashion is our next category.
Unremarkable.
Were there any mustaches? There were some mutton chops. There were some.
There were some mutton chops
on Mac, the actor who plays young Mac, Liz's time traveling husband. He had these mutton chops that were like, I don't know, they were like squares on the bottom, and then got skinnier as it went towards his hair.
Yeah, I didn't actually record any mustaches. I only recorded that, and I just wrote down epic facial hair.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do I name mutton chops?
Oh, I don't think so. They were like
Yeah,
weirdly geometric.
I'm gonna just call them pass the mutton.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know about fashion. Nothing really stood out to me.
No, a thumbs down.
And then Robert Stack. He was decent, actually. He was
I actually think he did a really good job introducing my mystery.
he had a quote that I thought in the Lourdes mystery. He said, "For those who believe in God, no explanation is necessary. For those who do not believe in God, no explanation is possible."
It's very true.
Yeah,
Poetic, well
it
stated.
is.
I'll
Yeah.
give Robert Stack a thumbs up for this one.
He brings some gravitas to this episode. He's in at one point he's in some blue fog.
Oh, he loves Blue Fog. You can't
Yeah.
get him out of. You know, if Robert Stack had made his own men's cologne, it would have been called Blue Fog.
Damn, he really should have. Missed
Yeah.
opportunity. Let's get in touch with the
His
Robert Stack
next
estate.
cologne,
Maybe they want to.
his next cologne though, Solid Gold Yacht. That one's not very good.
No, I'm not sure that one's gonna sell very well.
Yeah, it's very screechy to use a perfume word. So screechy.
Is that a perfume word? I don't wear
Yeah,
perfume because it gives me
yeah.
migraines, so I don't know this.
That's
Screechy?
what.
Who came
Yep.
up with that? What does that
I don't
even
know.
mean? Does that mean it's loud?
It means it's like I can't really even explain it. It's like
If you know, you know. If you don't, you
it's
don't. Is
like a
that?
high pitched scent,
It makes no fucking sense.
like a really really sharp
Strong?
lemon.
Okay.
If that helps.
Oh, I learned something today. It doesn't really help, but I kind of get it.
I'm gonna be sure to just douse on some extra perfume when I see you to bring on those migraines. How about that?
Please don't.
Why would I do that?
Let's see. Is that it? Is that all those categories? I think we just have to give it a number on our Robert Stack scale.
A 1, a 1.5, a 2. I mean, I didn't like it.
I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah, let's give it a 2.
I think a 2 is fair.
I wish the car mystery was in a better episode. It's not strong enough to carry this episode, but it's not bad in and of itself.
This miracle, considering we've had some that we really enjoyed, like the Jesus statue blinking, this miracle is boring as hell.
And it's so long.
It's extremely long. Also, they have this extremely as a whole, this episode, they have an extremely long miracle and then an extremely long update. That guy who moved to the country and had the horses, but he was a con man.
Oh yeah. Whoever turned in that weed guy, shame on you. Whoever watched Unsolved Mysteries and then turned that guy in, the city slicker turned pot farmer, tisk tisk.
Yeah. Stop being narcs. He was just trying to have his fancy horses and
grow tons of pot. And I don't know. It seemed like he was doing a good job. Y'all ruined it.
yeah.
Yeah, a 2 I think is fair.
Yeah,
I'm
this
never gonna
episode
watch
sucked.
this again, but I will be a little bit freaked out that maybe someone is gonna follow my car and shoot me.
Yeah. Also, you can name your first child Vernacy Pernacy.
And then my second child, Buster. Buster Pernacy. I will not be doing any of those things.
All right, we're at the recommendation.
I'll
segment.
say the good part about taking some time off is now I have a backlog of recommendations.
Nice.
So exciting. Now I'm not like scrambling. Oh, Curtis
You're
is
not
sad.
you're not me recommending Instagram accounts for squirrels.
Why is that bad? That's a solid recommendation. But
Me sitting here while you're doing your recommendation, scrolling through my phone, going, "What can I recommend?" Oh, the squirrel.
it's like the teacher is coming around to check your homework and you're like literally trying to do it right then.
That's
You're
how
like-
it feels.
You're like, okay, if I just write down 2 + 2 5 times, it'll look like I tried. My recommendation is something that I absolutely loved, and that is the Halston miniseries on Netflix, starring Ewan McGregor. I just think it's so good, and I can't stop thinking about it. It is the the rise and fall of the historic fashion designer of the 70s, Halston. He is kind of forgotten. He was very, very powerful and influential for like a brief, shimmering moment of the 70s. And is and probably has influenced more things than you realize, but his legacy kind of got destroyed by some bad business dealings and also his early AIDS related death. He's another
Mm.
one of those people that was taken from us too soon and that probably made the world a worse place. But I absolutely loved watching this. I mean, it feels like it was custom made for me. It is the combination of vintage fashion, Ewan McGregor, and bitchy insults. And it's just like,
It was custom made for you.
there's only 5 episodes. I could have watched it forever. I feel like the acting is just phenomenal. I think it's so good. All the sets, all the costumes, just amazing. And it's just this little window into like Studio 54 and his friendship with Liza Minnelli and yeah, his influence on fashion as like a minimalist and someone who is actually interested in making clothes for women that were comfortable, which was this like radical idea. He is also the person he like got his start as what do you call it? Haberdasher, making
Mm.
hats. So he made the iconic pillbox hat for Jackie Kennedy, but then as people stopped wearing hats, he sort of transitioned into a fashion designer and he also made perfume and stuff like that. But um oh, it's just so good. The acting is so good. I love it so much. It's a Brian Murphy thing, and I think he's does such better projects when they're based on real life
Sure.
because they can't totally go off the rails. And I think when he is in charge of the storyline, eventually it just like totally loses the plot. But I loved this. I loved that People versus OJ Simpson a few years back. That was so good.
That was
Um,
really good.
I only recently watched the season of Feud, which is the Joan Crawford, Betty Davis
Okay.
feud, and I loved that too. I had been waiting and waiting for it to show up on Hulu or something, and I just eventually caved and paid for it, and it was totally worth it. The acting in that too is just like it's incredible. It's Jessica Lange as Joan Crawford and Betty Davis. Oh, it's Susan Sarandon as Betty Davis, and obviously they're just like both amazing. And I love the idea of now I'm just on a tangent, but I love the idea of doing feuds as a story. Like
Yeah.
instead of a love story, a hate story. I just like that's way more entertaining.
It
Is
really is.
that these two people just absolutely hated each other just for being like professional rivals and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that was really enjoyable. I absolutely recommend watching the Halston thing. I cannot believe what a great job. Like I love Ewan McGregor and I'm still very impressed. If you've watched a lot of Ewan McGregor things, you might know that sometimes he really can't stop sounding Scottish. But that is not an issue in this. I was
Okay.
pleasantly surprised. It might be because Halston has kind of an affected way of speaking.
Oh, sure.
So maybe he like I don't know, maybe that helps. But he actually really does sound like Halston. You can watch clips and it was like, oh yeah, he did talk like that. Ewan McGregor like learned how to drape fabric and like kind of how to sew to make this movie.
Wow, I'm
And
impressed.
you can tell because he'll like there's this one part where he's like draping fabric on Liza Minnelli to make her a dress, and he just like does that on the camera, and you're just like, oh
Wow.
wow, yeah, so cool. And it's got great music, and uh. So I think we could all learn a little about extravagance. He was spending thousands and thousands on orchids every year
Oh my god. That would be
because
me as a rich person.
you can't put a price on inspiration, Samantha.
Yeah. Well, you
He's just
can't.
he's constantly smoking and wearing this amazing red coat and talking about how he just needs a teensy weensy $1,000,000. I love it so much.
Amazing. That's a
It's
really
so
good
good.
recommendation. We
You
should
have
take months off at a time.
yeah. You should watch it. You should watch it for the orchids alone, Samantha.
Well, that's enough for me.
Yeah, exactly. What's your recommendation?
I'm recommending a book that a lot of our listeners may either have already read or is on their list because it's by a very popular author. But it just came out and I read it and I really liked it. And it is Andy Weir's new book, Project Hail Mary.
Okay.
So Andy Weir is the author of The Martian, wildly popular sci-fi book. I don't know when that came out. 14 maybe earlier. I don't remember. But obviously there's a movie adaptation. Both the book and the movie of The Martian are really good, actually. Which is rare, obviously.
Yeah.
But then Andy Weir wrote a second book called Artemis, which people fucking hate. That book is like universally loathed. I read it. I thought it wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible. He uh makes some problematic choices, I think, in it. Like he tries to add some diversity, but every character just sounds like the main character in The Martian, who's a white dude. Um so it's not a great book. So it's and everyone pretty much universally agrees that book is not good. But so he
Poor guy.
so
I
in
feel bad.
I do feel bad for him a little bit too. Like you can tell he, the Martian, his debut novel was wildly successful, and he clearly, like most people, wants to try something new, and he did, and got real slapped down for it. And then it's not, he's not innocent of it. He could have made some better choices, but
Sure, yeah.
but it was marked contrast between his first and second book. So he has this third book out. It just came out, and it is clearly Andy Weir going back to what he does best, which is hard sci-fi, dude stranded in space is like the basic synopsis of this book. And damn, he really does do that very well. This book is really good. I actually think I like it more than The Martian. Because it has more, I would say, and it's been a while since I've read The Martian, but it has like more science fiction in it, I think, which is clearly it's up my alley. But Andy Weir is really good at writing in an accessible way. So if you're not a person that loves hard sci-fi, which is a hard genre to like, it's not for most people. And I often don't recommend hard sci-fi books because they're not really for most people. But he doesn't write like that. He writes in a way that I think like would appeal to lots of people, whether or not you like science fiction or not, generally. And this book is a lot like The Martian, but kind of I think it's in a good way. Like he does all the same things that he does well in that book in this book, but it's a very different plot, and there's a twist halfway through that if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. Where like the book goes, in my opinion, goes from okay to really good. And because like honestly, the first part of the book, I was kind of like, okay, this feels a little like The Martian, and in a few places, it's almost like he's trying a little too hard, where he's like trying to be funny. Because that's the other thing that he does really well. Like that's what people liked about The Martian, is it was science fiction, but it was humorous. And there was a few times in the beginning of this book where I was like, all right, I get it. I get what you're trying to do. This is fine. But then there's this twist happens, and I was all in. I was like, I forgot all about the things that annoyed me about the first half, and I just completely enthralled by the second half. It's really, really good. Not like anything I've read before in science fiction. The basic premise of the plot is it's like it's like a pre-apocalyptic novel. It's the type of novel where like there's some sort of existential threat that's discovered, that's like threatening to end life on Earth, and all of like people have to come together and science their way out of it. And that's what spawns this Project Hail Mary. Basically, they discover that there's something killing the sun, and the entire world has to pool their resources to come together and put together this Project Hail Mary, which the main character is involved in, and ends up leading to him being stranded in space.
Will that character be played by Matt Damon in the movie?
I hope not, because I think that I would only be able to think of Matt Damon's character in The Martian, so I really hope not. But you know what's really funny is like, when you're first introduced to this character in the book, they go on at length by how like buff he is. So he wakes up from this coma, and there's like he has
most people that wake up from comas wake up really buff.
Well, so this is why it's weird, because first of all, the way he looks basically doesn't factor into anything else in the book. Like there's actually like, so like it's not really that important what people look like, but for some reason when they introduce this character, multiple times he comments about how surprised he is that he's so buff and handsome. And I think that's literally probably only so they can cast like a hot dude as the main character in the movie or something. I was reading that, like, is this just setting us up for a movie adaptation where they use Ryan Reynolds or someone? to play his
No,
character?
it's literally gonna be Matt Damon. He was like, "I just can't believe that I have these abs, and also that I'm from South Boston." And people were like, "Well, it's in there. It's in the text."
Because this, well, and that's true. I think this is why, because the character in the book is middle-aged. He's kind of like he has dad humor because he's like this dad character. He's a high school science teacher. He's kind of dorky. He won't swear. But for some reason he's super buff after waking up in
Okay,
this
yeah,
coma.
that's gonna be Matt Damon.
I
That's
think that's
going to be Matt Damon.
it's so they can cast a Matt Damon character in his role. It has to be.
Oh my god.
So it's a little bit silly. That's why I'm saying the beginning of the book is a little bit silly, but I promise if you stick with it, you will be hooked and you will be very invested by the characters that come later in the book. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It's a long book, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna stick it out at first, but I did end up really liking it. And I would say, like, if I had to give it a star rating, it would be like a 4.5. I don't know if it'd be a 5 because there are some parts where I was like, well, I'm not really on board, but
You wish there were more descriptions of the abs.
yeah, it could have used more. It was really just at the very beginning. I don't know if he remained buff throughout the entire journey. That's not ever explained.
Yeah. How did the water glisten on him when he showered?
These are things we could have used. We could use more explanation.
I just think it's hilarious because in so many movies, Matt Damon is supposed to be like just this average guy who delivers bread, but also clearly works out 3 hours a day. So here we go. He seems like so unnecessarily buff that he like can't walk sometimes. It's like, well, he's gonna be bad at delivering bread because all of those muscles are just for show. Oh my goodness, this episode is way too long. We gotta pull it to a close.
I think we gotta wrap it up.
Okay, everyone, do us a solid. Subscribe to this podcast. Give us, if you actually want us back, you better give us a 5-star review. Otherwise, we might really quit. So
we might for real this time.
Think about it, okay? And then there's social media. There's the website, perhapsit'syou.com. There's you could email us a story of something that happened to you that has to do with the show, like you saw a ghost or something. That's perhapsit'syou@gmail.com.
If you have a few extra dollars burning a hole in your pocket, you can head over to Patreon, patreon.com/perhapsit'syou. Perhaps it's you might be spelled wrong, so you might need to go to the website and use the search function.
Sure is.
Very professional operation we're running here, but if you pay us $1, you'll get an access to over 40 bonus episodes, including our latest episode in which I solved the mystery of werewolves.
It's true. We won't tell you what the solution is here, but I'm pretty sure Samantha figured out werewolves are, and I'm impressed. And also,
you only need to pay $1 to find out the truth about werewolves.
There might be werewolves in Wisconsin, everybody. Watch out.
There might be.
Okay, that's it. We're done. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.